So in this video, we're going to take a look at square roots, and that is often referred to as a surd, and see if we can simplify them. Okay, so our way of simplifying a square root is to reduce it. Now, let's just make sure we know some facts. So if I have square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 4, that is going to be 4. Okay, it's one of those rules, right? Square root of 7 multiplied by square root of 7 is going to be 7. But we can go a little bit further than that. We can start off with something like square root of 28, and we can split it into different pieces. So for example, I could write the square root of 28 as the square root of 4, square root of 7, or I could write it as square root of 1, square root of 28. In fact, any two numbers that multiply to make 28 are going to be able to be split up and rewritten like this. Now, so that is our next rule, really. Let's just pick another one. What about square root of 20? There are lots of ways of writing this. We could write it as square root 1, square root 20, or we could write it as square root of 2, square root of 10, or square root of 4, square root of 5. These are all correct mathematically. However, they're not always very useful, but they are correct. So we can split a square root or surd up into component pieces that multiply together to make that original number. Now, the process of reducing a surd uses this trick to make the smallest number possible inside the square root. So let's take a look now at some examples and see if I can show you how this works. So we're going to start off with number 1, square root of 8. Now, we're going to simplify this, and we're going to do that by reducing and making the number inside the square root as small as possible. So we will write this as the square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 2. I have chosen this so that there is one number that is square. So I can actually get a whole number value for the square root of 4. Of course, square root of 4 is 2. So that means the square root of 8 is 2 square root 2. And I'm finished. I have done it. I have reduced my surd. I've written it in a nicer format with a smaller number inside the square root. Let's see if we can do another one. So let's pick square root of 50. So the square root of 50. Now think about this for a second. Should I write this as the square root of 10 square root of 5, square root of 25 square root of 2? Which one of these is the most useful for us? Well, it's going to be this one, because this one has a square number inside the square root, which is going to allow me to simplify. So square root of 25 is 5. So the square root of 50 is 5 square root 2. Okay, let's try again. Let's see if we can do some more of these. What about if we used number 12 as an example? So square root of 125. So the first thing you should be starting to do at this stage is to think, well, what square numbers are factors of 125? And of course, the thing that you should be thinking is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So we can write this as square root of 25 square root 5. From here, now we can reduce it because square root 25 is just 5. So our answer here is 5 root 5. Okay, we're going to do one more. Now, this can be done multiple times. Now, square root of 320. Now, this one is tricky. Okay, there's a quick way of doing this and a slow and methodical way of doing this. Now, let's just presume we don't know what square number is there. Well, I know that that is going to divide by 4. And I know that 4 is a square number. So if I write it as square root of 4 multiplied by something, then I can get started. And of course, 8 times 4 is 32. So 80 times 4 is going to be 320. So that's certainly true. So I could definitely write this as 2 square root 80. That's a great start. Now, it's not finished though, because we could go again. We could split that 80 up into pieces as well with a square number inside. So let's see if we can figure out what to do with the 80. Well, 80 also divides by 4, doesn't it? Right? Okay, so maybe we could write it as square root 4 square root 20. Well, that means 2, and that square root 4 is another 2 times square root 20. And so therefore we've got 4 square root 20. Well, we could do it again. 20 again can be reduced because we could write 20 as the square root of 4 square root of 5. And so we're going to have another 2 there. And of course, that is going to be 8 square root 5. So 320 square rooted is going to be 8 square root 5. Okay, I hope that helps you to understand how to reduce a surd into its components and thus reduce it successfully.